All right, on to our local dailies, starting with the Star newspaper here. On the front page, Haji, no graft charges for governors and MPs. Haji, no graft charges for governors and MPs. DPP hands politicians major reprieve after slamming brakes on their prosecution. Now, DCI and EACC will, however, proceed with anti-corruption investigations. We'll give you more details shortly. Some call me a dog, says Sia Widow, as women fight for political space in a campaign. It's a dirty game. DP Ruto plots showdown with President Kenyatta over proposed high taxes. You've also watched that story over the finance bill, and he says that he will fight it. All right, the story here of a lady who is eyeing for a political seat in Siaya says that it's even more unwelcoming when they seek political seats. She says that she's going through a lot of mental torture and name-calling, such as wives of graveyard. She's a widow, and such names are not so good, not so good. And remember that the EACC and the Commission for Integration Commission also said that there are certain words that should not be used during the campaign period. Cancer warrior and her wife help others fight dreaded disease. Now, Ngugi was planning his wedding 10 years ago when he was diagnosed with cancer, and now they're out to campaign against the disease. So the DPP, according to the story, says that the DPP said that his office will uphold international best practices on prosecution of politicians accused of corruption, especially during election campaigns. Now he said that, and I quote, "We don't want to be accused of making decisions based on political leanings." And that is why he said that at this particular point, there will be no politician who will be accused of corruption charges. Raila pushes to stem simmering Azimio revolt and amid zoning claims. And under pressure, Raila said that there will be no zoning of any regions for parties within Azimio. And of course, ODM leader Raila Odinga actually right now is in a very tight spot in aggressive push to stem threats of internal revolts and seal emerging cracks in his Azimio outfit. And of course, that has been on the lips of many for quite some time now. And of that story, Ruto plots face off with Uhuru over budget, vows to fight for Wanjiku. He says that he will rally his team to shoot down finance bill of 2022. And finally, there's a suspect who was detained by police for surveying express highway. So the police are detaining him, and he was found in possession of Islamic literature and could not explain how and who had given him the permission to take pictures. Now, it is presumed that the suspect was found at a stretch deemed prohibited and was taken in for questioning, and of course that place is manned, being a restricted area, and now he's still under police custody. They are waiting to see what will happen. So the story of Form 1 selection, actually it will happen either today or tomorrow, depending on how the CES, George Magoha, will handle his itinerary and the rest of it. Jen.
Now let's come to the Daily Nation. I start you off with the front page. The first story, of course, in regards to the Director General at Communications Authority. Chiloba moves to quell fears on the registration of SIM cards, and this particular move to just ensure a fresh registration for those that hadn't been registered is pegged on they did an inspection exercise a year ago where they came to find out in 22 counties, this was last year, they found out there's some SIM cards that are registered using other people's ID cards, others are registered using student ID cards, and others are even registered using their national social security funds, and others are just outright not even registered, and these numbers were actually given to people. So this is one of the some of the reasons that were highlighted by the Director General over there. Also, they went and said that this move will help to reduce the incidences of financial fraud, kidnapping, terrorism, and other related crimes that arise due to compromised SIM cards. But he went on to clarify, because there has been a lot of misinformation when it comes to the registration of this particular SIM cards. If your SIM card was registered after 2015, Okay, you don't have to re-register afresh. But if you had registered your SIM card before 2015, then you are required to visit a telecommunication agent, of course, based on your service provider, and update your details. And you can also check how many SIM cards are registered using your ID number, using *106#, and you'll be able to get the list of numbers that are registered using your ID. And also parents that have registered SIM cards for their minors using their ID. There's also a requirement for this particular lot. Yes, here we go. Parents who have registered their have registered SIM cards for their minors are required to ensure that these lines are regularized by submitting birth certificate details of the minors, again, to your service provider. So you can go ahead and read more of that here on this particular daily. And again, *106 to just confirm which numbers are registered to your SIM card. Now, coming to the back to the front page, the main read today: I will trash Uhuru's punitive, quote-unquote, budget. That's the main read here on the front page of the Daily Nation. I'll trash Uhuru's punitive budget. These are the words of Deputy President William Ruto, where yesterday he opened a new battlefront with his boss over the 2022-2023 budget, and asked his allies in the House, all the MPs that are allied to him, to shoot it down when it comes to the House for debate. And should they fail to do so, if he does become the president of Kenya after the August 9th general elections, he will dismember this particular budget because it only serves to the disservice of the common mwananchi. Those were his words. And finally, or rather, the second last story that has been featured here on the front page is Raila, a victim of blackmail in Azimio. That is the question. This comes as ODM chief seems to be struggling to satisfy more than 20 parties that are allied to him in the coalition, and some are even accusing him of dishonesty. And now his major dilemma is to satisfy the 3 governors in the Ukambani region. How will he keep them happy? And of course, this comes as, Mutua threw a spanner in the works where he presented himself as a potential running mate. Questions are abound due to this particular move, with Kalonzo Musyoka being the most probable running mate. And finally, COVID-19 infections increases diabetes risk. This is according to a new study that was done for over a year of tracking patients who had succumbed, or rather who had contracted COVID-19. It has been estimated that a huge chunk of them have been diagnosed with diabetes post-exposure to COVID-19. And even those that were asymptomatic, they're those that have presented themselves to hospital with symptoms that are linked to diabetes. Details in not too long. Doreen.
All right, hard choices for Uhuru in Raila's Azimio campaign. That is what you're waking up to this morning on the People Daily. And contrary to what was the anticipation or expectation, whereby you had been said to see the president actively campaigning for Raila Odinga, that might not just be the case, as there are now sharp divisions and opinion as to whether he needs to be there or not. And those opposing this particular move are saying, particularly when it comes to his Mount Kenya region, the backyard there, they do not want to see the president having to undergo heckling or even booing from that area, saying that it's not a good move to the outgoing president if that were the case. So that is just what is happening there. And you're not expected to see the president actually now actively campaigning for Raila Odinga up until perhaps a later time. But for now, that won't be the case. And Ruto says that he will ensure, or better still, they will ensure there's a peaceful, free and fair election. And he also said and pledges to Kenyans that he will deliver economic revolution if at all he gets to win the August 9th general election. Part of what he will really target so much is the question of job creation in this country, and also ensure that businesses get a friendly environment. And the question is always not in what is being promised, but the how to do it, particularly when it comes to the question of job creation in this country. Very pertinent issue right there. And this is obviously to the young people. And also, just as it has been mentioned there, I think in the Star as well as the Daily Nation, Mutua expresses interest in Raila's running mate slots. And again, the running mate question is obviously coming out, also fully knowing that the Wiper Party has also flaunted the Wiper leader there, Jubilee Party, also saying that this slot needs to go to the Mount Kenya region. So again, it's a time where you do not wish to be Raila Odinga, because which side or which faction will you please, seeing that this is a coalition that has about 25 or 26 parties, just a question of sibling rivalry here and there, and trying to sort of quell when this qualms are coming up. So that is what he is saying there. This is even after that conversation that had sparked up that he was to ditch Azimio, but now it looks like that is not going to be the case. So this is also one of those areas that is being looked at even as the nominations are continuing. Who really will be the running mate when it comes to this entire coalition? And also, police took home 500 million Kenyan shillings in bribes. This is from the recruitment process of the police that was just recently concluded around March, and this just shows that the job seekers ended up losing a lot of shillings in millions to those that had been promised these jobs, who actually didn't end up getting the jobs. And even for those that are undergoing this training, this report also shows that they had to pay some bribes just to be taken by the force. And it begs the question, can there really be merit in seeking and getting jobs? Does it always have to be a question of bribing just to try and ensure that you actually get that job that you're looking for as a country, as a person? And this also is happening even as the police force is saying that they're really trying, they are investigating this matter, and they will bring to book those that would have been found culprits of this incident. And lastly, pain still at the pump for a good number of motorists, and this is particularly in the western and the Nyanza part of the country, even after that supplementary budget was signed by the president and 8.2 already disbursed to the oil marketers. It still shows that there's some parts in this country whereby passengers have to cough quite a huge amount of money, and matatu operators are hiking prices because fuel is still lacking in these parts of the country. Regina.
Now, the front page equally looks like what we have, or rather what you've already heard from my colleagues there, just a confirmation and clarification from the Communication Authority of Kenya that you have up until Friday to register and check your details in as far as the SIM card registration is concerned. Yesterday from the pulpit, being Palm Sunday, it was all about peace calls ahead of the August 9th general elections, and talking about general elections. The main question and the big read in this particular daily is about, a new headache, so to speak, for the main presidential candidates. So, State House ticket, Machakos governor offers to deputize Azimio leader days after Kalonzo said he wants the seat. Now, Nakuru governor also insists that Mount Kenya will accept nothing less than the deputy president slot. That is what we have on the front page of this particular daily, but also on stories that are making headlines across the world is that France is already voting. And the person running against the incumbent, or rather the current president, that is none other than, far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, who is posing an expected threat to President Emmanuel Macron re-election hopes. Across in the Americas, we have Mexico there voting on a referendum that will decide if the current president, that is Andres Manuel, is fit to continue being in office. While some opposition think that this is a move aimed at extending President Andres Manuel's, rule, or rather tenure as the president of Mexico. Talking about what is also happening across Eastern Europe. Now, President of Ukraine, that is Zelensky there, has said that the aggression that is currently being witnessed in Ukraine is not just about Ukraine, but that this is Russia is targeting all of Europe with this particular invasion. We have learned over the last few weeks that Kenya is not so far removed in as far as the uncertainty around the Ukraine Russian war there. Prices of wheat as well as fertilizer taking a hard hit in as far as, disruptions to the global supply is concerned. In Pakistan, on the other hand, is that the vote of no confidence has set the ball rolling to have elections. Now, the opposition, which spans the political spectrum of religious radical, will form the new government. That is a development in as far as Pakistan is concerned. Across Australia, May 21st is when Australians are going to be voting, and this is after Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison there said that he's ready. That is the day that he's ready, or rather that's the day that they want to have that particular election. So in Africa and across Africa, we're looking at, the ravages of drought, issues of climate change there, with reports coming in that in Ethiopia, the current drought has seen, persons there, livestock keepers, lose a cool 1 million cattle due to the drought situation. This comes at a time when Met Department in Tanzania has given a notice to Kenya that we should be expecting rains from Tuesday. If this comes to pass, we'll be here to experience that. Now that we're done with what we have on the various dailies, we want to leave in the able hands of Traffic Marshal A1 to bring us up to speed with what it's looking like this Monday morning on our major roads. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant viewing.